My name is Shwetha Srivathsan, and I'm a parent advocate at the Not That Different initiative, an initiative by Bukosmia. So, why am I here and why am I talking to you? Just to give me a little bit of background, just to give you a little bit of background about me, I'm a parent to two daughters. My older daughter, Aditi, she is 18. She is a non speaking autistic who uses text to speech to communicate. And she's also a published author and an award winning author. She has two published books to her credit, a collection of short stories called Small Stories, Big Thoughts, which incidentally is published by Bukosmia, and a fiction novella called Gobble Thy Prejudice, which won the Best Manuscript Award at JK Author Awards last year. So, and my younger daughter Kriti, she will turn 7 next month, and she's neurotypical. So, when Aditi was first diagnosed with autism 15 years ago, had somebody told me that one day Aditi is going to be an award winning author, I don't think I would have quite believed, because that's what autism is. It's an entirely life changing experience, not just for the autistic, but for the families of the autistic people as well. If I look back at my journey of these 15, 16 odd years, I think it's been a very interesting journey. It's had its own shares of ups and downs, but if there's one defining factor about the journey, I think it's been a fact that there was never a clearly well-defined path to follow with your autistic child. And while we all understand that autism is a very wide spectrum and can impact people in different ways, the one consistent thing across the spectrum is that the life path for an autistic person is not a clearly defined path, unlike that of a neurotypical person. Now, why am I saying that, right? With neurotypical children, it's kind of like a template that we follow, right? 3 years, you send your child to a preschool, then your child goes to primary school and to middle school and to high school, and by the time your child is in high school, hopefully she can figure out what is it that she wants to do with her life, and college and so on and so forth. But with autistics, I think it is anything but defined. When Aditi was first diagnosed 16 years ago, in India, I don't think the level of awareness that is there about autism now was there. It was much lesser. While of course there was the internet, and we could always go back and read up and get a granular understanding of what autism is. I believe that for every parent it's a journey of acceptance, a journey of gaining a better understanding of why is it that your child, who looks so obviously normal on the face of it all, is struggling to do even the smallest of things, which ideally should have happened organically, effortlessly. And that's when you start to go back, read about autism, and get an understanding about the sensory differences that autistics have, and get an understanding about why is it that autistics do the things that they do, or behave the way that they do, right? And then comes this entire gamut of early intervention and therapies, occupational therapy, speech therapy, which I think for us parents is a journey in itself, where we try to get an understanding of the therapy landscape, try to get an understanding of what our own child's needs are and what kind of therapies will work for our child. And then comes the schooling. And in all honesty, I don't think mainstream schools in India, even today, are completely prepared to, take in autistic children, right? So it does involve a lot of, again, going back, a lot of research, a lot of understanding in terms of, trying to figure out what is it that works for your child, what kind of schooling will work for your child, what are the skills that you should be focusing on. None of this is clearly defined at all, right? It's a path. Honestly, for us as parents of Aditi, I think the path did involve a lot of trial and error. But I think, and obviously, when we try something and it doesn't work, we realize, well, this doesn't work. And then when something works, it gives us an idea that maybe, yeah, this is what we're supposed to be, focusing on. This is what we're supposed to be looking at, right? Until we find that one thing that works. So in Aditi's case, I think the one thing that worked was helping her find her voice in the form of alternative communication, in the form of Avas, which kind of opened up her mind to us, gave us an idea of how much is it that Aditi really knows, how much is it that Aditi can really understand and give us an understanding, of the person that Aditi is, and eventually introducing technology, right? That I think, was the watershed moment for Aditi, because learning to type on the laptop and learning to type to communicate on Avas kind of gave her the impetus to explore writing, and gave us, more importantly, it gave us the understanding that here is somebody with a lot of creativity, and here's somebody who has the ability to spin tales, so why not work on it? The one thing that I have seen over the years that I'm guilty of doing myself, and I know it happens to a lot of us, right? When we are handed down a diagnosis of autism for our children, what we also get along with it is a laundry list of the things that your child cannot do, right? A laundry list of things that are difficulties for your child. And we spend a lot of our energies trying to focus on these difficulties. We do therapies to help our children overcome some of these difficulties, and we try to try different strategies of learning, and different strategies of communication, different things that will basically help our children overcome those things that we believe are difficult for them, those things that we believe that they are not able to do at an age appropriate level. But somewhere along this entire journey, which in all honesty begins from parental anxiety, of trying to help your child settle in and trying to help your child learn, oftentimes what we do is we fail to focus on a child's strengths, right? Now, I like to think that everybody is good at something, right? And when we talk about our autistic children, and our autistic children growing into adulthood, where we don't have a defined path for them, but yet here we are aspiring, as parents, that our children can grow up and have meaningful, contributing adulthoods. I think the logical first step to achieving that would probably be to identify your child's strengths. If we start identifying our child's strengths, and we begin to work on our child's strengths, what happens is that our child picks up certain skills that are very meaningful, certain skills that can be translated into meaningful adulthood, certain skills that help them remain engaged, and certain skills that actually give them the confidence in themselves. It's the confidence of having done job well, right? Now, if a child is not very good at maths, and we are remediating the child's math skills, so the child, from finding it extremely challenging even to do basic math, just about learns to do, some amount of math with all the intervention that we give, because the math is the child's difficulty, right? But this child looks around and finds other children for whom math is a very effortless thing, right? And obviously the child's not going to feel very good about herself when that happens, right? And here we are as parents constantly focusing on her math, constantly focusing on the fact that she's not good at math. But, let's assume that this very same child is very good at painting. Now, if we focus on the child's painting, we give her opportunities, we expose her to opportunities where she can, work on her painting skills, where she can get better at painting, and she will get better at painting a lot more effortlessly, because that's where her strengths lie, right? Don't you think your child is going to start feeling more confident about herself, will become a more happier person, and is clearly something that your child is clearly a skill that you can consider for meaningful engagement growing into adolescence and adulthood? And that's precisely the kind of messaging that we want to give here through this series. In this series, we will be highlighting autistic teens and autistic young adults who have certain skills, who've achieved certain skills. Now, these skills can be anything. It can be running a marathon, it can be trekking, it can be cooking, it can be baking, or it can even be, using a computer very well, or it can be graphic design, right? We're going to talk about autistic teens, autistic young adults who have achieved these certain skill sets. And we're also going to talk about, and we're also going to have conversations with their parents to get an in-depth understanding of how is it that they identified their child's strengths and what is it that they did to build on their child's strengths. Because here we are as parents of autistics, talking about a path, talking about creating a path for our children where none exists, right? Now, the best way to create a most meaningful path for your child would be to work on your child's strengths. And that's precisely the kind of content that we are hoping to share with you all in the coming few months. And there's another thing that I've noticed over these years of parenting Aditi. When Aditi was first diagnosed, there was content on the internet to help us understand autism, help us understand, get a slightly better understanding of our child. But what's happened over these last 15 years, I personally believe, is also that, we have gone from a lack of awareness to a hyper awareness in some cases. So there's a lot of noise that's surrounding autism. There's an insane amount of content on the internet surrounding autism. And for many parents whose children have just, many young parents whose children have just been diagnosed, it can be a very confusing thing, to go out there in the internet to look up at the content. And honestly, at times, this content can end up confusing the parents a lot more, right? So we also do hope to bring in content. We hope to bring in resources that young parents can turn back to help them get a better understanding of what autism is, to help them get a better understanding of why, their children do some of the things that they're doing, and what can they as parents do to help build on their child's strengths so that their child has a very fair shot at a meaningful adulthood. And here's me signing off.